yourself up because I love to connect and be able to just come with such a charismatic use my cunning tactics to be able to attract you and attract to the individuals, the positivity who know we want to give another view and a better way of living. We want to bring back enjoying positivity, chilling, learning how to entertain yourself, and staying out of trouble because that's where a lot of our youth needs help. So that's why I do what I do. I put everything online, I document, and I take it one day at a time because that's my way of becoming equipped to get through life for this new age. Mindset shift. It's real. You just gotta think. You gotta be able to switch. I got a cold switch out here, man. It's not easy. You like on the tip of the iceberg. You're trying to be cold. Everybody's got their walls up, it's like we are not the same people who we once was, like in Jim Crow and slavery and all of those things. We are nothing like those people anymore. You know what I'm saying? The black community has transformed and become its own cancer, its own worst enemy, to where, everybody looking for the solution, but the only answer is to heal, from the sickness. And this world is full of killing and destruction. Nobody's feeling at ease. Everybody's always tense. Everybody's always trying to see, when the next shooting, when the next pandemic, when the next recession is going to be. So, taking it slowly but shortly, that's the only way that you can make it. Because if you try to move too fast, it's like you're breaking your stride. You gotta stay on pace out here. Because, survival is not promised. So, just like your happiness, you can't blame nobody else but yourself. You gotta be honest. Once you take that in accountability, it's really nothing else, nothing much more that's gonna deter you from doing what you gotta do. So, be yourself, It's the main thing. A lot of people try to imitate and emulate what they see on these celebrity gossip, TV. We all been watching it. We all been seeing it. So we all feel it. To be honest, what's up? I see you in the chat. But it's nothing that you can get back. It's all about what you want. Don't let it be the end all be all. A lot of people they want love or they want trust, loyalty. These are things that are not going to be built overnight. So you gotta realize if you're gonna be in it for the long run and the long haul, then take what comes with being vulnerable and allowing people to play with you. Because this is the temperament and this is the society that we're living in, so it's not like we could go back. You gotta put yourself in the best position, so you don't get trapped out here because it's easy, just to listen. But you gotta learn from your mistakes as you get older. You gotta get better, and you gotta take the time out to control the narrative because the temperament is not the same, as it once was. And again, it's like everybody's trying to snake. Everybody's trying to get ahead and use and take the precautions and measures to abuse, each other. And we've seen this cycle. So now it's like, instead of taking the time to heal and, help those around you, they try to get the best version of yourself. It's like you just ignore all of the trauma, all of the, things that happened before in the past, and now you continue to keep moving with that because you haven't been able to release, you haven't been able to talk to anybody or be, proactive and productive about it. You just keep letting yourself self-destruct. And, everything around you, everything that you touch, that's what's gonna happen. It's not gonna be enough, because you didn't fix, you didn't work on yourself, you didn't do the work to be able to get in the position and, do the stuff, do the work, do the things that you will want reciprocated and, to continue the situation or the relationship. You're gonna have to commit, and it's a struggle trying to, because it's like, even when you do find that person, or you find that other half that completes you and keeps you from crashing out and, on the right path. Now it's like, okay, well, what do you have from your past that, you're hiding? Because we all know we all got something, that it's just like, it's inevitable. Nobody's perfect. Everybody got things that they work with or that they'll be able to compromise. And it's like, you start to realize you can't blame nobody else but yourself at the end of the day. So when you're taking the risk, it's like you got to be able to take the reward, for better or for worse. It's all a part of the system. So you may not plan for it, but you still got to guard and protect yourself, so that you don't get left out here. Because I feel like that's a lot of, a lot of what we've seen in this generation is like, people, they're only satisfied for the moment, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, they're not really in it, they don't really understand the nature that it's just, typical. Sex and all of that stuff is good, but that's only, the surface level of what you're going to be dealing with when you're getting yourself into, these relationships out here, and, you taking it however you got to carry it. But at the same time, it's like, you got to understand, you can't just marry or just think that, things are going to work out just because it's good now. But later on, people could change, or people could want to do different things. That's just one of the things you got to be. That's just one of the things that you got to be, ready to understand that everybody's not going to stick together and stay, in the same settings. Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that. SR Nation. Good morning to you, and God bless you as well. Yeah, I'm always, in tune and tapping into my deeper intuition. I always tell people, I always tell y'all to listen to that first because, what works for me or what works for you may not work for the next person. It's not a one size fits all. It's something that, it varies, it differs. Love is like, it happens quicker and it's something that, you can try to prepare yourself for, but you just never know until you actually are in it in real time. And then these are the things that, you gotta make those decisions, like if you're gonna lead with your heart or if you're gonna use your mind to think about, is this a good time? Is this a good even situation? Because we see the world right now, it's only getting worse. And, people are taking their anger out on others who may not or may have something to do with it, but it's like, it doesn't make it right though. So these are the things that I encourage people to like explore, before you actually put yourself in a position, because it's like, is it really worth in this day and age, in this time, to, jump into something that is not guaranteed? It's like, you could waste time, you could be cheated, you could get tricked. These are all things that come with it, but you gotta accept your role and understand, what you've done and where you've been at and where you trying to go. You know what I'm saying? You can't focus on nobody else's relationship. And I think too often, we look at celebrities, we see the Meg Thee Stallions, the Klay Thompson situation, we see Cardi B, Stephon Diggs, like, and then we try to, put ourselves in these shoes, but it's like, we not even close to, or, like our situation, as average people, is not, we shouldn't compare it to somebody who, already has things that we may not even see in our lifetime. So it's like, of course, it's a whole nother, dynamic. So, divorce is high right now. Like, people ain't staying together. So you gotta think, damn, I could lose half, I could lose everything just off of that. It may not even be nobody's fault. It just, y'all go apart, and now, you want to do things, and, it's just exhausting. So, you gotta protect your energy. You gotta be able to understand and see that love is not often found. It's very rare. It's more rare than common. And it's like, a lot of people are just dealing with each other or pretending, or just, they don't want to do nothing different. They, it's like my grandma used to say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So a lot of people, they just staying together because it's convenient, and it's like, they understand it's not worth it to try to come out here and rebuild everything and restart and meet a new person, do all of that, and kids and mom and family. Is just like, why would you want to do that if you already have happiness? You know what I'm saying? I really encourage people, like, stop thinking that this is, all about, it's all about fun, or it's all about, rewards, when it's like, it's risk to this when you dealing with another person, because you don't even know if, they gonna put you on and, help you, and y'all helping each other, or if they gonna destroy and break that bond and, throw it all away for, temporary mistakes, or just trauma. It's like, are you gonna chase? Are you gonna do what you gotta do for yourself and face yourself in the mirror and say, okay, am I the best version of myself to even take an opportunity, you know what I'm saying, and put myself in a place of vulnerability. Or I could just say, hey, I don't want no commitments or I don't want no relationships right now because I know in today's climate it's more likely to fail than actually be successful, and it's just gonna be another stressful, take and take from you, because it's like we all know we got our breaking points, and that's one of the things that I think a lot of people is not measuring and understanding, that when you keep going from relationship to relationship, person to person, and you ain't healing and you ain't understanding what's wrong, why things ain't working, it's like you kind of killing the whole, basically purpose, of coming together and building and having a union and working. So, for me, it's like I just try to stay close to God and, understand that, everybody's time, every man has a day, and it just may not be mine. And, I just try to stay out the way, keep grinding, do my little workout, keep myself healthy, research, just pay attention to what's going on in real time, because it's getting difficult, and we see it. We see the signs coming. We see, the nature of the earth being manipulated like never before. Everybody got their walls up. When you step outside, it's like, it's tense. It's a lot for people to, cope with. So we all get that we're going through something, even if it's not affecting us individually as a group. As humans, we are becoming more, I would say, vicious. When we see the killing, when we see the youth, and we know that, especially in our community, it's a lot of single mother households that, a lot of our boys are not getting, what we got in our days when we seen the men and, how they moved and how they worked and how they came in. Now it's just like a rap epidemic drill. Everybody want to be tough, and, we feel like it's going in the wrong direction, because some of the stuff from my days, it was mainly like entertainment. It was, people was portraying to be a certain way, but we knew, we was hoping that these dudes wasn't doing the stuff that they was talking about in their music and, the stuff like that. But now it's like they get rewarded. So we gotta understand not only the culture, but how society is, pushing these narratives, and they kind of enhancing it by throwing fuel to the fire when we all out here and we trying to dance, we trying to get around the trauma and all of the things that we see going down. But it's like, no matter which way you go, no matter where, no matter whatever struggle, whatever battle you choose, it's still gonna be fear mongering. It's still gonna be, it's still gonna be people tearing each other down, tearing you up, no matter what you do. So it's like you just gotta pick a struggle at this point and just stick with it and stay up. Stick to your craft and stuff, and just stay out of the mud, you know, because it's dirty. Like, for real, it's dirty waters out here, man. And, you know, I just try not to get caught up in, you know, I just try to enjoy the things that I know, you know, I once didn't have, or, you know, just to have the time, because it's like I made it to this point, and, you know, I would like to continue and just keep grinding and just, you know, staying out of sight, out of mind, basically. Like, that's my whole premise, you know. I try not to let it get too detrimental in my mind and don't dwell on it, you know, because it's like that's what the devil wants you to do. You know, God, he tests you, and he wants you to think with that mindset of, you know, everybody is bad or everybody is one way, when it's like that's not even close, you know what I mean, to the truth. It's like it's good people, but you just gotta understand, like, you are what you attract to. So, you know, a lot of people say, oh, all of these people are this or that, and it's like, you know, we as, you know, logical people could see that that's BS. Like, nah, you just, you know, that's just the type of people you dealing with, or, you know what I'm saying, you feeling and falling in love with. Like, don't try to put that on us over here. You know, we ain't got nothing to do with, you know, those characteristics. Like, damn, I just seen this. Some teens, they said, was in the shooting. I might have to end it, repost, because they're not even letting me get no service right here. I got mad stories I'm gonna put out. What the nah. Yo, this is the craziest story right now. Can't believe it.
Family tragedy in West Philadelphia. Police believe a woman stabbed her own mother to death and took off. Officers are especially concerned because they're suspecting killer.
They said a woman stabbed her mother.
Corey Davis is live at police headquarters. Breaking news: a family tragedy in West Philadelphia. Police believe a woman stabbed her own mother to death and took off. Officers are especially concerned because their suspected killer has children of her own. Action News reporter Corey Davis is live at police headquarters with the latest. Corey.
Matt, good morning. Yeah, investigators trying to track down the woman accused of this. They're telling us that the daughter stabbed her mother to death while the mother was trying to get help from a neighbor.
We do not have yet an identity on the daughter. We're still trying to find this person. We understand that she fled the scene. We don't even know if it was in a car or on foot.
Wow.
Police responded to the 4600 block of Westminster Avenue.
I can't believe that shit. People was losing it. I swear to God. Oh, because I gotta bring awareness to that right there. Like, we see kids. They will turn on their own parents.
My mother made it clear from the start.
We have yet again another murder-suicide investigation underway.
Oh, they said she killed herself?
New York's Park Slope neighborhood. This comes after a mother and daughter were found dead inside their home.
Oh wait, no. That's a whole nother situation. That's the Brooklyn situation. I reported on that.
Daughter analyze her mother, then analyze herself. Mother says she has some bad.
Now, when I told y'all that I found the note,
an increase in murder situations. I honestly did not think one of those would be a mother and a daughter. Unfortunately, 59-year-old Olga, who was a vegan, I thought that there was going to be an increase in murder self-deletion situations.
I gotta get off because I'm gonna have to use my other phone to post the story. But I'll be back on probably.
Now, when I told y'all that I thought that there was going to be an increase in murder self-deletion situations, I honestly did not think one of those would be a mother and a daughter. But unfortunately, 59-year-old Olga, who was a vegan chef, had her life taken by. Now, when I told y'all that I thought that there was going to be an increase in murder self-deletion situations, I honestly did not think one of those would be a mother and a daughter. But unfortunately, 59-year-old Olga, who was a vegan chef, had her life taken. Now, when I told